Well, hello everyone. The purpose of this video is to attempt to explain what lies behind what Elon Musk has termed the woke mind virus. It's actually a very appropriate term, as the woke mind virus is the extreme version of wokeism. And this extreme ideology has been wreaking havoc on Western civilization for the last decade or so. Yet when I listen to podcasters, social commentators, or journalists speaking about this topic, it seems we don't yet fully understand where the woke mind virus stems from. The goal of this video is to try and outline the root cause of the woke mind virus, because when we can understand the root cause of a problem, we're in a better position to try and fix it. Now, I'm going to save solutions to this for another video, but for now, let's just focus on where the woke mind virus stems from in 5 simple steps. And step 1 is the universal need for humans to feel connected to other humans.
I'm so lonely.
Pretty much any psychology book you pick up today will talk about the need for humans to feel connected. Psychologist Abraham Maslow says that once a person's basic physical needs are met, that being food, water, clothing, shelter, and security, the next most important thing for a human to need is a sense of belonging. The reason solitary confinement is seen as such a cruel form of punishment is because when humans are disconnected from other humans, they start to come undone mentally.
You wouldn't match by a chance, would you?
Whether we're aware of it or not, most of what we do in life is aimed at building healthy connections with others. Now, the way we do this is to make ourselves presentable to those around us, all right? We want to pass inspection with those we wish to please. So take going on a first date, for example. All right, girls will spend hours on their makeup and their hair. Guys, on the other hand, we will get our back waxed, we'll pluck our monobrow, we might even have a shower. Well, shower in a can anyway. Yet this is the kind of routine we run through dozens of times every day for each of the people we interact with. All right, whether we're conscious of it or not, we are all striving to make ourselves presentable to those around us. Why? Because humans are relational beings. And if we want to live healthy and happy lives, we need connections. The second step in our journey into understanding the woke mind virus is realizing that although we all desperately need connections, deep down, the human heart knows we are very messed up. Right? Whether we're willing to admit this or not, our subconscious knows that if people were to ever find out just how deep and dark and sinister we are deep down, they would reject us. Now, not everyone is going to agree with me on this, but let me try and support this thesis by asking a simple question. So, to the male listeners, how would you like it if your mother or your sister or your wife or your daughter could read all your thoughts? Similarly to the females listening, how would you like it if your father or brother or husband or son could listen in on all of your thoughts? My guess is the answer to this question is...
How about no?
Most rational people would be mortified if those closest to them were to find out just how dark and twisted our thoughts can get. All right, so in a moment of honesty, most people will admit that we fail to live up to even our own standards, let alone the standards of society. The third step in our journey is to realize that humans don't like sitting with feelings of shame. Right? We don't like to feel that we're not presentable. And so what we do, and this is all of us, is we try to cover up our shame. Philosopher Charles Taylor explains how this works in his book, Sources of the Self. He says humans will identify one particular characteristic in their life and will elevate that characteristic to be the most virtuous and valuable characteristic a human being can possess. Taylor refers to this characteristic as a hypergood. Examples of the kinds of things that people choose to be their hypergood are things like looks, love or likes on social media, sex, success or style, power, popularity or politics, money, marriage or medals, awards, or maybe even intellect, children, or our career. Now notice how all of these things are good things. Only the criminally insane would choose things like genocide or polluting the atmosphere to be their hypergood, all right? A hypergood is generally a good thing that we turn into an ultimate thing. And the way it works is this, right? We look for a particular characteristic or attribute that we already possess or we think we can achieve. We then elevate that characteristic or achievement to be the most important thing that a human being can possess, a hypergood. We then pursue that characteristic or achievement, making it the most important thing in life above everything else. We then virtue signal to those around us that we've achieved said hypergood, whilst at the same time looking down on anyone who is not able to possess our arbitrary hypergood. But where does the woke mind virus fit into all of this, I hear you ask? Well, this brings us to step 4. Like I said at the beginning, the woke mind virus is simply the extreme version of wokeism. And wokeism finds its origins in the 1930s, where it referred to people who had woken up to or had been made aware of the plight of African Americans. Yet since about 2010, this phrase has been used to describe those who wish to eradicate all social inequalities, not just racial ones. So at its very core, wokeism is a good thing, right? Even the least empathetic in society will admit that caring for the marginalised is a good thing, right? I'll use myself as an example. Many years ago, I had to get a psych report for my job, and the psych report came back and said that I am, quote, emotionally bland. Now, my wife was really upset about this. She said, "Doesn't that upset you?" I said, "Meh." So even the most emotionally bland of us will still admit that caring for the marginalised is a good thing. The woke mind virus emerged when people started turning wokeism, a good thing, into their ultimate thing, their hypergood. Now, if only a handful of people were doing this, then it wouldn't be much of a problem. But if tens of thousands of people start using wokeism as their hypergood, it starts to transform the culture. And the reason the woke mind virus has caused such significant damage to Western culture is because so many people have joined this movement that idolizes woke ideology. But how did wokeism become such a popular way to display someone's worth? Well, the answer is found at the feet of what is called cultural Marxism. Now, cultural Marxism is different to classical Marxism. Classical Marxism is an economic or political philosophy based on Karl Marx's view that all of human history is little more than the powerful oppressing the weak. The problem for classical Marxism is that the 20th century proved pretty much every single one of Karl Marx's theories of how to overcome this situation to be categorically wrong. They all failed to bring in the utopia that Marx promised. Yet the foundational principle of Marxism still remains. The powerful still continue to oppress the weak. So what are Marxists to do? Well, as philosopher Stephen Hicks points out, Marxism started to change in the 1960s. All right? Marxists understood they couldn't rebalance the power politically or economically, so they decided to do it culturally. The goal of cultural Marxism is to, number one, attack the so-called cultural elite, and they do this by throwing names at them such as racist, misogynist, bigot, homophobe or transphobe. That's the first thing they do. The second thing they do is try to give the oppressed people extra cultural capital. And they do that by claiming that they are victims and that society owes them. And this brings us to the fifth and final step in understanding the woke mind virus. Those who have chosen wokeism to be their hypergood make themselves presentable by signaling to the world that they are on the side of the oppressed.
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
They actually don't have to do anything in order to do this. They don't have to look after the oppressed. This is why it is such a popular hypergood. All you need to do is get on your keyboard and tell everyone that you're on the side of the oppressed. What's even better is if you can look down on or even attack anyone who is not on board with your woke ideology. So that's wokeism, the woke mind virus, I should say, in 5 simple steps. It stems from the universal need for humans to feel connected. Yet because we know we're messed up deep down, we try to cover over our shame. We do so by choosing something to be our hypergood in life. We then, given wokeism is a noble cause, advocating for the marginalised is a noble cause, many in the West have idolised woke ideology, turned wokeism into the woke mind virus. And they then signal their virtue to the world by finding subtle ways to show how woke they are while attacking anyone who isn't woke. As I'm hoping to show in future videos, these 5 steps help explain how wokeism has done such damage to modern society in recent years. I hope that helps to understand where the woke mind virus stems from so that we're in a better position to combat it in the future. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.